We'll wait just another minute or so and then we'll get started.
All right, presenters, whenever you are ready, it is time to start our session. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you. Well, welcome everybody. Unusual doing a presentation this way, so bear with us as this is new to us as far as using Zoom. So we're going to do our best to work with the technology. Our district has only allowed us to do Google Meet, so we're flipping to kind of that new technology and learning as we go, just like we did with distance learning. Well, welcome. Our presentation today is Transitioning to Adult Life with PBIS. I'm Melissa Paulson, and Luann Strakota will be our other presenter. We are coming from the Bloomington Transition Center, which we'll tell you a little bit about here in just a minute. A little bit about myself is I've been teaching for 20 years, I believe now. I started in elementary and have done ADSYS and behavior support specialist. I was a 5th grade classroom teacher. I worked in a setting 3 program for students with DCD, mild, moderate to severe, profound, for many years. I was also, I've been a PBIS coach, I've been an MRCI coach, and I've been a special education curriculum coordinator. I've done this position here at the Transition Center the last 2 years and have found just out how just much I love this age group. So it was a big swing from going from elementary up to young adults, but I've really enjoyed it. So that's a little bit about myself. And as you can see, our bit.ly is on there. We'll be talking about those resources as we go through the presentation today. And now I'm going to let Luann introduce herself.
Again, welcome to our presentation. My name is Luann Strakota. I've been a teacher in the Bloomington School District for 14 years. I was in the high school setting for 8 years, and then I transitioned over to the BTC 5 years ago. And as Melissa said, it's really different working with young adults, 18 to 21 years old. It's really been fun and we've really enjoyed it. So we're going to continue on with our presentation. We're going to start first with our agenda. And we're going to talk a little bit about the background and how our site got started. And we'll share our journey and what we've been through. We'll give you some ideas to bring back to your team. And then at the end or during the presentation, we'll answer any questions that you have. So if you just put those in the chat box, we can answer questions on those, okay? The Bloomington Transition Center. So our program, we support students who are 18 to 21 years old with mild to moderate disabilities. We have an infographic that we use to share with incoming students and families. And we also have a modified schedule that we use to emulate our college-like setting. First of all, I'd like to show you our infographic that we share with our parents and with our students when they come to our program. And it'll take just a second to pull it up. As you can see, our mission statement is to provide transition services to young adults with disabilities as they move from an educational setting towards living and working independently in the community. We look at 3 areas in transition. The first is independent living. And in the area of independent living, we support students to gain the skills to live independently in the following areas so that they're able to take care of their finances, they have transportation, they learn about home living, that's like nutrition and those type of things, housing options, where they're gonna live, and then we look at self-care. And what we really want our students to do is how to become an adult. That's what we look at. We look at the whole person, because each one of our students that comes to our program, they each have individual needs, and we really focus on what those needs are to help that student to make that gap from our program to becoming an adult. So we want to teach them how to budget money, how to cook for themselves, and then have a plan for transportation. Because some of our students, you know, their parents have always driven them someplace, or, you know, it's always been someone else taking them. So we really want them to be independent in that transportation piece also, whether it be they work towards getting their driver's permit, driver's license, or learning how to take the bus. In the area of employment, we support students in obtaining competitively paid employment through job coaching, skill building, and internships. And the third area we look at is post-secondary education and training. And in that area, we support students to find appropriate training to pursue their passion, including college, technical training, or on-the-job training. We have a couple of students right now that attend Normandale Community College while they're attending our program also. And also in the area of employment, it's really important for us to make sure that our students gain those skills so that when they do leave our program, that they're able to get some type of job to support themselves. And then the other thing that we show our parents and incoming students is our modified schedule that we'll be using this fall. But again, that depends upon what this fall looks like. So this is what we have in place for right now, and we'll pull it up. Our Monday and Friday is different because Mondays and Friday, what our students will do, it'll be one day. It'll be either a Monday or a Friday, but not both days. Students will meet with us virtually for like an hour or with staff. And at that time, we'll work on independent IEP goals and whatever their needs are. This is also a time students may go with staff to get their permit. They can apply for jobs, go to a job interview, do a job shadow, and get identification cards and things like that. So this is new for us. We didn't do this last year, but we're doing it this year just because we figured this would give more opportunity for those students to get those specific needs that they have, such as getting their Social Security card if they don't have it, or getting some type of an ID, or wanting to go take the permit test. So this gives them that option to do that, along with possible job shadows for students that don't have jobs. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday will be our class time for students in the morning, and that's from 7:50 to 11:45. And during that time, we really focus on those classes of, you know, independence, what is important to them to learn when they leave our program. So we look at employment skills, we'll go over those type of skills, finances, being able to budget, know how to take care of their money, count change. You know, we want to make sure that they have those basic pieces done before they leave. And then we also look at home living. What are those things that they need, you know, as far as nutrition and being able to go to the grocery store and those type of things. And social relationship building is also another big thing that we focus on with our students, along with career exploration. So we always want to give them more options, not just to be narrow-minded and what this is what they thought they were going to do when they were, 12 years old, but to really open that up and give them more opportunities to look at more career pathways for themselves. And the last area is an internship in the afternoon for students that do not have jobs. So if a student is working in our program, they leave after lunch on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, and then that way they can go home and then they can go to their jobs. But students that do not have jobs, we place them into an internship in the afternoon, and that time is really for them just to kind of get those employment skills that they really need to learn and be able to work on, along with they get references that they can put on their resume from doing an internship. And it's really building those skills and preparing them to get a job, just to kind of gap that piece for them. And that's what our schedule will look like if it all works out in the fall. So the Bloomington Transition Center, our site has really undergone significant structural changes in the last 3 to 5 years. When I started 5 years ago, there was 5 teachers, and myself and another teacher, we had more like the higher functioning students that didn't need supports and those type of things. Then we had 3 teachers that worked with students that had more severe, profound disabilities and needed a lot of support. And it was very different back then. And then a couple of years later, it kind of changed again, where the 5 teachers incorporated all of the students in all of the classes. So whether they have severe disabilities or they're high functioning or college bound, they were all together. And we tried to see how that would work, and it didn't work quite as well as we wanted it to work. So we kind of changed things around again. And last year we had 6 teachers here in our program, and now we have 2. So Melissa and I are the only 2 teachers in our program from 6 from last year. So significant changes, many different things have happened in our program. And the reason why we're down to 2 teachers now, because our more students that have more severe disabilities or need much more support are in a different program now called 917 works with those students. And then Melissa and I, we work with more students that have that don't need the supports and are looking more at just really getting employment-based opportunities or trainings or post-secondary. And that's what we're focusing on now. But this has greatly impacted the rollout and the reboot of our PBIS program that we have now, that Melissa and another teacher started last year at BTC. And then we carried it through this year. And then students were heavily involved in the process of the PBIS, starting it last year and then continuing it through this year. And I just have to do a thank you to Melissa, because Melissa's the one that started all this. And she's the person behind the scenes who put it all together, did all the legwork for it, applied for all the grants that we received for our program. So I just want to say, woohoo, thanks, Melissa. Okay. The highlights of our journey. Students created and designed our own AIM logo that we use for our PBIS. Students created AIM and how to use AIM in the classroom and in the hallways and the lunchroom in the community. So it was not us dictating to them what it was going to look like and how we were going to put it forth. Instead, we had them have a say. Staff focused on positive student behaviors, which was great. It's hard to overlook those negative behaviors, but just really focusing on those positive behaviors and changing the mindset to work on positive behaviors. Students respected one another, I feel like, more because they were respecting other people's opinions without putting them down. And I think that was a great add-on to our program, just not seeing students cutting each other down, but really building each other up. And then we bridged what we do for PBIS into our employment skills so that we carry it through into the employment area. And one example is we had a student this past year who was working at a grocery store, and he got Employee of the Month. And we're like, yes, it's just really nice to recognize those type of things. Okay. And then this is our logo that a student created for our program. He put it together and he worked on it. And it says at BTC, we aim for success, and the A is for acceptance, and the I is for independence, and the M is for merit. And then Melissa's going to go over how we incorporate these. She's going to show our matrix and the other things that we follow through in putting this together for our program. Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks, Luann. All right, so this is our BTC Building Matrix. We have a couple of different matrix, and we'll show you and explain that. So while you're looking that over, I just want to talk a little bit about our journey when Luann had talked about the rollout of it. Last year, like I said, I was new to this program. I've been here 2 years. So the first year we had a new supervisor, some new staff, and some big changes. And our students, we were, as a staff, we decided we were going to go ahead and reboot PBIS and get it up to, more fidelity. And we were like, I'm a doer. So I'm like, yes, let's get this done. We'll roll it out in the next 2 months. We'll have a student team. We'll get this nailed and get it rolled out by the start of trimester 2. However, the students thought differently of that. As we had the student team put together with us, they said, whoa, this is way too fast. This is too many changes. We're really stressed out. We can't do this. And so as a team, we stepped back, and we stepped way back, which was really tough, challenging for me because, like I said, I'm a doer. I like to get things done. So we slowed it way down. And what we ended up doing is we took out like 1 section per trimester to work on. So the first one, the first trimester, what we did is we just came up with what our expectations were. And the students really did a nice job with that as far as coming in with aim. And as a staff, I had to really work on not having a predetermined idea of what it should be. So that was my challenge to myself, was to not take over the process and really let the students have voice and choice in it. And what we found is that the students, one student came up with the aim, and then another student came up with the acceptance, independence, and merit. And all along while we were working on this, we really talked about how we wanted it to be adult-like. We really wanted to make sure that we were honoring of the students. One of the things that we had heard was that they weren't feeling very honored as young adults, and they really wanted that component to be part of it. So that's where merit came in. Many of our students actually didn't know what merit was. And one of our students that came up with it was explaining it and said, well, we'll have to teach it, but it's a good one to use, and it's good for employment as well, because you want to have merit when you're working. So we really took that slow. Then what we did for our matrix is we had each class take one area, the hallways and commons, the classroom, the lunchroom, and then they talked about what expectations would look like for each of those. And we went through that whole process over the second trimester, was building our matrix for students. And we actually did not roll out our PBIS program or reboot until this fall, or this last fall. So we spent 1 year building our program, putting everything in place, really getting a lot of student and staff feedback, and then started building it. Now, the one thing I can tell you from the elementary level, a lot of times at elementary, I've heard, oh, high schools can't do this, it's too childish. But the thing that I've learned coming from the elementary to the secondary program is that the students really do enjoy it, and they look forward to it. And when they're part of that process, it really builds their capacity to do it. So the other thing I've learned is we were able to do some fun different lessons. So one, I just want to show you. Here's our lesson template first. As a team, the staff put all the lessons together during some summer writing. So we came up with a lesson template that we used. And you can see that here. So we just had, the different sections that we wanted to do. So we did the hook, the learning target, the why. We really felt that what we had heard from our students was they really wanted to know why. Why are we doing this? What's the purpose? That kind of thing. So we really built that into our lessons. We also built some of that team building in to help facilitate that acceptance piece of our aim, and then an activity and a closure. So you'll get to see the lesson more closely in just a little bit here. And now I'm going to go back. And then we had another staff from last year, from 2 years ago, worked on this restroom lesson, and it's kind of fun. So I just wanted to share that with you. And so these are some of the fun things that we've discovered that you could do with young adults. You could use some of that sarcasm and that humor has been really vital for our students to be using some of the humor. So this is an example of our lesson. As soon as it loads, sorry, it's a little slow. So we started out with some dirty jokes for the restroom area. So there's some dirty jokes that we started with. And of course we got a few groans and moans, but overall the students were having fun. And then we did our learning target. And one of the things we always do too, just as we're thinking about is all the different terminology for students so that they really understand and can generalize those terms. So here we came up with as many different terms for the restroom as we could. Then a funny video. And then we did this as a whole group, you know, what do we need and want why do we need and want expectations in the restroom? The students came up with some of those, came up with that list. Then we did an activity where they each got to decide how much toilet paper they were gonna need. And then on each square of toilet paper, they wrote something about themselves. Because again, we did this towards the beginning of the year as we were showing the expectations. Then we highlighted on our matrix, the part that we were talking about, the lesson, and then who, when, why, and ask how. So we did some different things about procedurals, how to use the restroom here at BTC, what needs to happen before you leave the restroom. And then we did a, fun, again, a little clip, comic, and then a pop quiz. And then the students created memes for using the restrooms. Of course, they were school appropriate. We told them that we were gonna view those before sharing. And the students really actually had a lot of fun creating the memes, and there was quite a bit of laughter and things. So it was really a good team building activity for the students. And then of course, just different ways of flushing the toilet. So again, you can just have a lot of fun with the students with that humor and that sarcasm while doing the PBIS. So they actually really enjoyed that. So that was just a sample of what our lesson looked like. And as I said, we needed to do a couple of matrix because we are outside of our building so frequently with students that we created a BTC extensions matrix. And this is how we really tried to help bridge PBIS in the classroom out to the community. So we have the matrix that covers the work experience. So that's both our internships as well as employment, because we go out and do observations in their paid employment in the community, and then in the vans and buses. We have vans here that we transport students in. So we talk a lot about what does that look like when you're on the roadways. We talk about that road rage piece and how to, so all the times that we're with students, so we're using our PBIS model to help build those pro-adaptive social skills. And then the last matrix that we have is due to, obviously, distance learning. Many of us got thrown in this one. Unfortunately, we were not able to have the students have as much input on the distance learning matrix. We, as staff, put it together so that we could teach how distance learning was going to look at BTC. So again, we, as staff, put this together, and we did let the students know that it was a trial and error. We were learning as we were going, but it came in really handy because we took some of our things that we were struggling with a little bit in our virtual meetings, and then we highlighted those and made a kind of like a countdown. So when we started our virtual meetings, we said, okay, remember these, we highlighted the things we wanted them to remember, such as using appropriate language in the virtual meeting as people were at home and there was lots of, family around. So and then we talked about those like using public behaviors when online. So it worked out really well, and it really helped support our virtual classes that we had during distance learning. All right. Now, the last part of this, just our journey piece was developing our AIM ticket. So we went with a ticket. Students took a long time to really determine what they wanted and how they wanted to be acknowledged. The AIM ticket on the left is what we started with. And again, we were creating this as we were finding out that our program was going to be changing. So when we started, we thought this was a great way to start. What we noticed as we went into it is that some of our staff got a little bit more caught up in the number of tickets that they were giving out rather than the purpose of the ticket. So what we've done is we moved it over to the AIM ticket on the right, or we were going to. We are going to do this right after spring break, actually, and then that didn't happen.
So this is seeing your slides, Mary.
Oh,
I'm still just seeing the bathroom.
Really?
Yes.
Let's see here. Let me see if I can.
And this is Mary. I am seeing the slides move.
Okay, so you see it. I'm going to try and go back into it, and I'll go back into present here.
So maybe if other people put in chat. So other people are seeing the slides move. So whoever isn't seeing them move, I wonder if maybe that's something possibly on your end.
Yeah, if it's a delay in loading or something.
Yeah. And Aaron, I'm going to ask you, should they possibly log out and come back in, the people who are having difficulty?
Possibly. We can see the slides now. We can see there might be a slight delay when you're using Google onto Zoom.
Okay.
It looks like it's on there now.
Okay. So then the AIM ticket on the right is what we're going to, because being that we're a small site, we only have 24 students total. So what we would like to now have our staff do is just write a little blurb about why students are getting the AIM ticket, just so that we're making sure that we're hitting that corrective and, or positive praise with reinforcement. So we're telling them the why. You showed acceptance because you did this. So that's what that's going to look like. And like I said, we didn't get a chance to roll it out. We were hoping to try it after spring break, but because we were in distance learning, we didn't use this format. And then our flow chart looks like this. Again, it's really a different type of site. So we haven't relied on this completely because we're a small site. One thing I can say is when we have any behavior issues that we need to address, the one huge difference that I noticed from the elementary to the young adults is that it's not as urgent. In elementary, it seemed like we were needed to do it right now. Like, you did this behavior, so you're getting sent out right this second. And what we've done, or what we've realized, is that we can do more of hey, we noticed that this happened. We're going to talk about this in a little bit when we have some more time, or at a more appropriate time, or whatever it is. So we've been able to mitigate some of that just by giving some more time and space between. And what we've noticed is the students have a better response to that after they've had some time away from the situation. One of the things that we did on the flow chart, though, is up towards the top here. We really wanted to make sure we were working with the staff as well. We have para staff and work experience coordinators, and so there are even though there's only 2 teachers, we have a few other staff that work with our students. And we wanted to make sure that they do a quick self-check and make sure that their mindset was towards a teachable moment rather than that punishment. So we really focused on, it's not about suspensions, it's not about getting them in trouble, it's about how can we teach them during this moment and improve that behavior. Also using a de-escalation strategy first, and then kind of following the flow chart. So that's what our flow chart looks like. Our supervisor, then will come in, and what we've done is we've done a lot of processing with students, just hey, this is what we noticed. Tell us about that. What was going on? So more of that investigative piece. And we've been able to come up with some really good plans as to how to support students moving forward, and just reteaching those expectations during those times. So this year we have only had 2 suspensions, which was really nice. All right, so that's kind of the foundation of our PBIS. Any questions on that part coming in? Or Are we good? Okay, so now we're going to move on to some of the things that we just want to be able to share with you. We know that PBIS is all about giving back to the greater community, and so we're hoping that you can bring some of these ideas back with you. The first thing is we have a Golden Shovel Award, and I apologize, there might be some lagging in flipping back and forth here. So one of the things that we talked about, like I said, we do a lot of reflection here, both the positive and when there's some not so good things going on. So what we created is the Golden Shovel Award. We noticed a lot of students would give one-word answers, things like that. So this is awarded to students who dig deep to make meaning and connection. So we actually have a beautiful, large golden shovel. So we've painted it gold. We have one hanging on our wall with this sign, and then another sign below it that students can sign in gold marker once they've received the award. And some of that is either through their written reflection or through their verbal reflection. Then they get a certificate to take home with them. They can decide if they want their certificate like this without a picture, or Desi said we could show her picture. Or they get a picture like this where they hold the golden shovel and they get their picture on there. So that's our Golden Shovel Award. Again, we use it for reflection. So during our employment seminar class, students reflect on scenarios that we give them. And then before we share their work, we ask them if they're okay to share it. And we have yet to have somebody tell us no, they don't want us to share. Another thing that we use, again, to work on that acceptance piece and merit and just those pro-social skills is we use what we call bounce cards. These are just sitting on our table. We cut them and we've made little like table tents out of them. And they just talk about good ways to respond. So, how can you bounce an idea off of someone? How can you sum it up? How can you inquire about what you need? And again, as we bridge that into the employment piece and the adult life, what happens when you have a conflict with a family, or you're trying to talk about politics or different controversial topics? How can you use some of these strategies? Or when you're in a meeting at work and you need to talk with your employers or your coworkers and things like that. So we try and incorporate that as much as you can. It is also our Q Comp team here in Bloomington has listed this as, a culturally responsive practice as well. So we have those on our table. All of these resources are in the bit.ly, so you can make copies and adjust and manage as much as you want. I will have to say, one of my challenges too, coming from elementary to high school or to the secondary setting, is the ability to try and make things in elementary, we make things really cute. So I still have to use some different fonts and things like that, but I do get teased about that quite a bit because I have to make everything pretty. But that's definitely my elementary background coming out. Luann and I were able to attend a conference last year, and this information is coming from that conference called Make Social Learning Stick by Elizabeth Sauter, I think is how you say her last name. And what we did is we did this as a team activity with all staff. And again, it's really helping students build those socially acceptable behaviors that we'd like to see out in the community. And also helping our students understand some of those hidden rules. So they picked an area within transition to focus on, each team did, and then they talked about the hidden rules and what were the expectations in those different places. And then we also added job talk. Elizabeth had told us that taking a task and changing it into a job really helps students take ownership. So instead of saying you need to sweep, say you need to be the sweeper, please. And then adding that ER, that OR to turn it into a job really supports students. So we were trying to do that as well in this lesson or in this activity. So what we did is we picked different places such as going to the bank, and then talked about what does it look like to be in line? What does it mean when they're called next? What questions? What do you have if you have questions about it? How can you be friendly if somebody, so that's where we add the job talk. You can be a door holder, like be aware of people that are around you, and don't just like walk in and shut the door on people. We've noticed students doing that. So again, we wanted to teach that expectation. And then some of those hidden rules, kind of giving people extra space, kind of the voice volume that you use when you're in the bank, how to keep your account information safe. So here are just some examples of ones that we had done: going to the doctor, eating at a restaurant. Arc Value Village is a internship site for us, as well as some place where some of our students shop. A snack at Holiday. Again, we have a Holiday right down the street from us. And so on off-campus lunch days, students will often go to Holiday. So again, we wanted to make sure, so as we teach those expectations, we pull this out and then we have some visuals to be able to support students with it. And then again, grocery store. So again, you can see we've, when Elizabeth presented, it was more about the early childhood pieces. So we've changed it to be more of the young adult pieces. Okay. So we use that again when we're teaching those different expectations in those different social places. All right, and then the social autopsy is just again a form that we adapted or changed a little bit to fit our setting, but just to help students work through when there is some conflict. Like, here's what's going on, here's what I did that caused a social error. Very similar to like a stop and think. Again, we tried to use some different wording so that it felt more adult-like. And then again, our staff is able to help students process through when necessary on that. And then the last thing is our wheel of emotion and sensation word list. Again, we really want to try and help use visual tools to show students the emotions, the difference kind of between those bigger emotions and those littler emotions, and about matching the behaviors to those feelings. So this is just a list that we have, you know, that so we can try and get students to realize a broader range of emotions while we're working on that social regulation and social skills. And then some of those sensation words. How are you feeling? You know, are you shaky because you're doing a presentation? Are you feeling, you know, spacey? So just giving some more words to the different feelings that they're having. And again, having that visual support is always helpful for our students. All right, now, these are some things that we've used with staff, and I know we're getting a little lower on time. So one thing that we did in the elementary site that I was in is we had a favorites list. We have not created a great name for it, but so BTC Favorites is the best we came up with. These are fictitious names and phone numbers, obviously, but we wanted to be able to show you what we've done. What we did is we had all the staff put on a spreadsheet some of their favorites: favorite candy, favorite fast food restaurants, sit down restaurants, beverages, snacks, stores, activities, or other little favorite things. What we've noticed is that oftentimes we want to acknowledge staff for doing something, either helping us out when we're having a difficult time or just as a way to show some appreciation. And so by having this list, then people can go to it anytime and be able to pick out something that they know. So like, oh, Sarah really likes peanut M&Ms. I just want to give her a small acknowledgement and go out and buy a bag of peanut M&Ms. And then they're getting stuff that they like. So these are all things that our staff have put in. But like I said, I changed the names just for privacy purposes. But then you just have a nice list of what you want to give them. Or if they're having, you know, if there's some family issues going on, or, you know, you want to send a little sunshine, then you've got a list to do. And it worked really well when we did at the elementary school where there were 50 or 60 people. Then we just put tabs along the bottom, like K1, 2, 3, or, you know, just by different categories of where they were working: office staff, paraprofessional staff. But then you always have a way of being able to acknowledge those staff and saying thanks, or just sending a little sunshine. We also created a May Day basket idea similar to Secret Santa, not related to the holiday, you know, a religious holiday though, as much. And then it was in May where everybody was kind of feeling the slump. So the May Day basket just, you gave a little basket with some treats in it and snacks in it, and you stop and deliver the basket to your person on May 1st. You know, we did, the cost was about $10, and then you could, you know, participation was totally optional, but we did let people know you will only receive a basket if you participate. So it was like a back and forth type of thing. And again, you could either use that favorites list, or there's a staff form here that we would have staff fill out just in case they weren't on that list of some fun things that they would like. And then you got to, you know, try and deliver your basket in secret and then reveal yourself later with a tag on the basket. So it's just kind of a fun day brightener for in May. Like I said, when people are feeling kind of that end of the year slog. All right, then we did a PBIS sustaining workshop last year through Bloomington. And this was one of the ideas, and then we doctored it up just a little bit so that we could have a poster to share with our staff. So just managing escalating behavior tips. So again, just a reminder for our staff, you know, monitor yourself, align with the students, engage supportively, and then give them space. So we thought these little graphics were really fun. So we were able to kind of create one for us to use here at BTC, and we use that with our staff training. I like this little calm, low, and slow, you know, clip. And then there's just that, you know, arch of where students go and what happens during an escalation. Okay, and then how to address student behaviors. This goes kind of with our AIM tickets, but again, just laying out the expectations for how you give the AIM tickets. You know, make sure you have a supply ready of tickets. Constantly and consistently observing students to acknowledge them. I see, you know, so-and-so being independent, acceptance and merit. And then just some reminders, acknowledgements frequent, but authentic and genuine. Your goal should be a 5-to-1 ratio. Monitor consistency, use and implementation for yourself and each other on a routine basis. So that's our data collection piece. And then the behaviors. And then, so then we did how to correct, provide correct behavior errors to help redo some of those. So like proximity, giving choices, reducing expectations. So those are some of those de-escalation strategies that we have given out to our staff. So we use that again in our staff, you know, we'll refresh that or teach that in the fall when we do our workshop week. And then this is the sample lesson plan to that bathroom lesson that we showed you. So we had the slideshow. So there's the slideshow, and then this is how it fit into our lesson plan format. So there was our hook, our learning target, our why, the team building. This explains that toilet paper activity a little bit better than I did. And then the activity, and then the closure. So just wanted to give you an idea of what our format actually looked like for that. Oops. All right. And then back to Luann. Oops. There we go. Back to Luann.
Okay, implementation and our successes. So we want to start first with the student engagement, with the process and the journey. It was great having them be a part of it, having them have a say in how this was going to look, and them coming up with ways and what they thought merit and AIM should look like, you know, throughout all the different areas. So, you know, we started out slow. We started out slow last year, but implementing it this year was very successful. Students on the PBIS team, they presented to the other students, taking more of a leadership role, you know, and demonstrating to the other students, you know, they can be leaders too. And I think the other students that weren't part of that leadership group wanted to be part of that leadership group after they saw the other students that were advocating and demonstrating to the other students, which was really neat to see. Staff following through with AIM. So again, it was great to see our staff going from just handing out AIM tickets just because they wanted to have so many sent out, but really thinking about when they're going to send out the AIM tickets. So really looking at that behavior that the student is doing and that positive reinforcement and giving that AIM ticket for a reason, for something that they did and something that they accomplished. It was really nice to see them transition from lots of them to just really giving them out for that specific behavior. And then students acknowledging each other and holding each other accountable. I think that the whole PBIS reboot, bringing that in and looking at the matrix and everything else that has been put together for our PBIS really helped students be accountable for their own behavior. So that they can't blame us for their behavior. They have to look at what they're doing and then make them really think about, okay, so I'm acting this way because why? And really getting down to that specific reason, what is causing them to be that way, and then having them reflect on that and think about it was really successful this year. Meeting with our supervisor, you know, a few students that had a few incidents and met with the supervisor and staff, but it was on them to come up with, well, what could you do next? Or how could you change that? And they're the ones that came up with it. It wasn't us dictating, well, this is what you're going to have to do. But it really made them think about, oh yeah, you're right. You know, I was acting this way because this was happening. So all of that and bringing all that together and having them have to say, I think was the most successful part of the PBIS, bringing everything together. And then again, I just want to thank Melissa, because Melissa has done the legwork on this whole PBIS process for our team and behind the scenes and everything else. And she's done a fantastic job. So I just want to say thank you, Melissa. Thanks. And we can go on. And then if there's any questions that people have about any of the strategies, things that we've used, again, everything is in Bitly, and you can open that up and you can make copies and use it for yourself and adjust it to what your students need and what your program is like. But you know, next year we'll be going into our 3rd year of implementing this whole process. And we feel much more confident going in, and we feel really good that we are really looking at our students and that our students are coming here because there's a reason for them, you know, to really become that adult. And we are really focusing on those areas. And the PBIS is just a great asset to our program. Okay, so thank you. Thank you for attending. And again, if you have any questions, go ahead. And if you want, you can also email me too. I'm at lstracoda@isd271.org. But thank you.
All right, any questions?
I hope you liked it.
That was really well done. This is Mary. The question I have, when did, I think I missed it. When did you reboot the PBIS? How many years ago?
Last started.
Last school year, we rebuilt the framework, and then this school year, so 2019-20, we re-implemented it, or implemented the reboot.
And do you have any suggestions for people who are rebooting? Any words of wisdom?
Well, I learned that taking it slow probably is better than rushing it. Really just, you know, taking your time and making sure you're getting all the stakeholders' input in it.
Yes.
And there were a lot of comments in the chat that a lot of people thought that it was really a great presentation. And I just thought it was very simple and practical ideas to keep it going. So that's really appreciative. Things that really wouldn't take a lot of time or a lot of money, but can make a big difference.
Exactly. Yeah. And we've found that, like, even with our reward center, that being able to do some things like, you know, since a lot of our students are drivers, you know, get out of school early so they can leave 10-15 minutes before the end of the day, or they get a 20-minute break. A lot of our students appreciate those less tangible rewards, or being able to play Wii or whatever game station we have, you know, for 20 minutes, or take, you know, they appreciate that as their reward, along with food, of course.
Yeah.
Our 18 to 21-year-olds like their snacks. So.
Mm-hmm.
And Mary, my first year, you know, 5 years ago when I started, they did have PBIS, but it was phasing out. It just wasn't working because the dynamics of the students were so diverse that it was pretty much set, and it was like specific rules, and a lot of the students didn't abide by them, and then they didn't really like how that was. And I think it's because the students were, there were so many different needs at that time.
Mm-hmm.
We had our real severe and profound, and we had our very high functioning students, and they all had to go by the same PBIS matrix that was there at that time. And I just feel like at that time it just kind of fizzled out. And then a couple of those teachers all left, so then it just did fizzle out, and then there wasn't anything in place until last year.
Mm-hmm. No, it sounds very good. And it sounds like your experience at the elementary and even younger, and then to move to the opposite end of the spectrum with the kids who are transitioning. Any thoughts about that, or things you've learned about that?
Definitely. I wish everyone had a chance to look at the end result, because I think I would have done some things different in the elementary as I thought about thinking the big picture, the whole, like, where do we want them to be at the very end? And I think sometimes we get caught up in where we are right now instead of looking at that big picture. So I know, like, even some of my students that I had when I was in the Setting 3 program in the elementary, I was kind of shocked when I came up here because I had just a couple students that were at this point now, and they were doing some of the same behaviors that they were doing back in the elementary school. And it's like, in elementary, we thought it was kind of cute and fun, and but now as an 18 to 21-year-old, it was not cute and fun anymore. So just being, thoughtful of where do we want them to go at the end, and a lot of the skills that they build at that elementary age and the younger age do stay with them through, throughout their career, or throughout their life.
Mm-hmm. And how do your community partners, how do they like embedding PBIS into the work?
They really appreciate it because, especially like our internships, because they have some language to be able to use with our interns as well. Mm-hmm. We tell them about AIM and things like that, so that they have some of that. We also have some close partnerships with our, because all of our students that have paid employment have training agreements. So within that training agreement, our work experience coordinator is able to talk about AIM and our expectations here at BTC, and how we want them to generalize and transition to that employment setting, and our employers are very appreciative of that.
That's great. That's all the questions I have. It was a fabulous presentation. I learned a lot.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. This was really wonderful. Thanks for your presentation. I'll let you guys continue with questions. I just want to remind everybody that this link will be hosting the trauma-informed school-wide support system in your school presentation next, which will start at 11 o'clock, and we will give closing remarks after that. So just wanted to remind everyone quick. Thank you so much. This really was a wonderful presentation.
Well, thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you. It was fun. Anyone else have any other questions?
Hey, Mary, it looked like somebody had asked if we could share the slides. Do you know if those were shared somewhere?
The slides should be on the MDE, or I'm not MDE, PBISMN.org website, and we shared that in the opening. We can put that in the chat again, and then the live stream has the YouTube MNPBS network YouTube channel has your presentation. We'll have your presentation on it. Okay. So the slide should be, and I'll look for that link and put it back in the chat.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And I think it's pretty much all the same as far as, like I talked to you about the accessibility, but I think I really didn't change anything and got all the links in.
Okay. I was going to say, because I did not put the slides in the bit.ly, which I probably should have. I didn't think about that.
Okay. I will look for the, I'm going to put the link to the YouTube network back in, and then I will also put the link to the PBISMN.org web page
Okay,
where the presentation is. Okay. Thanks again. This was absolutely fabulous.
thank you.
Great. Hi, Melissa. It's Garrett.
Oh, hey, Garrett, how are you?
It was so great. Thank you, both of you. I am sending the slides to the webmaster right now. She noticed that they were incorrect. Nettie Peters noticed that they were incorrect on our website. We just had posted the next sessions under your link. So we're sending those over now, and they should be correct on the website as well, pbismn.org.
Awesome. Wonderful. Do you know, Garrett, does that update? Because I didn't think we could, I wasn't thinking about it. We could put our email addresses in there too if people wanted to contact us, but does it live update like a Google